Hey everyone, it's Lindsay here, and I'm back for our Overlocker Tips 3.0, the last in our Overlocker Tips segment. And today we're going to dive deep into doing different stitches. So basically, we've learned how to thread it, we've learned what all the parts are. We can basically do a 4-thread overlocker, like just chain that off with our eyes closed, right? But what I wanted to show you is how manipulating some of the different features on the overlocker can give you completely different results. And the reason I'm holding my manual is because inside the manual it's going to actually tell me how to set up my overlocker if I want to do a rolled hem, or let's say I want to do a lettuce leaf effect and I'm working on a fine fabric or I'm working on a medium fabric. Your manual will have something in it to tell you how to set up your machine. So if you don't have one that came with your machine, maybe you bought it used, you can always go online and look it up and download your machine. So let's go ahead and get stuck into making our machine do some fancy things. Okay, so the first thing we're going to learn how to do is how to use our overlocker to gather up our material, which is really cool because it just takes a few little switches and you are ready to gather. So that's just an example of what I did. And over here on the side of your machine, it's very similar to setting up your sewing machine for a gathering stitch. So this is our stitch length. And remember, I recommend having like some little sticker to let you know what you're doing. And this stitch length needs to be 4 or whatever the highest is, which means it's the longest stitch possible. So this is the same as your sewing machine. If you're going to do a gathering stitch, remember you'd put this as high as possible so you have the longer stitches. This down here, this is the differential. This is the feed dogs underneath the machine, and if they're going to pull or push the fabric together. So I don't know if you can see that. That's pulling the fabric apart. And this little picture up here is pushing the fabric together. So I've put the differential at 2.0 as high as it can go. And then I've also put the stitch at 2.0. And then when we gather, we will see, or when we stitch, we could probably even tighten our tension a little bit. And there we go. We have the fabric all gathered. You can also get optional feet for your overlockers that have a gathering foot, which will put tension onto the fabric and gather it even more for you. Now we're going to look at stretching and doing a lettuce leaf effect. And all we do for that is take this as high as it, or as low as it can go. So it's stretching out the fabric. And we're also going to go all the way down to R, so it's doing a small stitch. Okay, can you see how the edge got super wavy? And this is called a lettuce leaf effect, and you may see it on little girls' dresses that they do this. And now I want to show you how to transition your machine to a rolled hem. So see how this is really wide and thick? You may not want that. You may want a tiny little narrow overlock that you can barely see. Obviously, you'd be using thread that was the same. So what we're going to do is transition and take out a needle and change our machine to a rolled hem. Now I want to show you how to set up your machine for a rolled hem. And the first thing we're going to do is remove one of our needles, which is the left needle. So we're going to hold on to the needle, use our little screwdriver that comes with the machine, and take out the left needle. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our stitch width cutting dial. So can you see the knife moves in and out? Do you see how that moves in and out? We're going to put that all the way to 5, which is R. Then we're going to come over here to the side, and our stitch length we're going to put all the way to R, and then just our differential we're going to stick to 1, which is our normal distance. The final thing I want you to do is remove or move out of the way your stitch finger. So right here, this is where the thread wraps around for you to create your stitch. And so this is called the stitch finger, and it usually is found right in here. So you should be able to take that out and remove your stitch finger. So now it's going to roll the fabric rather than wrapping around something else. And you can also slightly tighten your upper loop retention if you would like to. Sometimes you can put what's called woolly nylon thread into your upper looper as well, and it's just a thicker thread that fills in when you sew. Okay, so I've started sewing, and I don't know if you can see how nice and tight that looks. Now, you don't want to try to go too fast because you'll get skip stitches, so let the overlocker pull it along as it wants to. All right, let's have a look. It looks amazing. This is a technique that you would be able to use to hem silk or chiffon or anything that's really nice and fine and lightweight, and you're going to get this beautiful tight little stitch just on the edge. So that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to change the differential to gather, create lettuce leaf effect, and how to do a rolled hem.